Hey, yo, what is good, y'all? I am Malcolm McFadden, the creator of 615 Comics, and I want to welcome y'all to the Yo a Nerd podcast, y'all. And this is where I just talk about different things under the nerd dome, under the nerd sphere, just different topics, DC, Marvel, the mainstream stuff, comic books, different topics I see on Twitter that got people in an uproar. So that's what we do here at the Yo a Nerd podcast. I am back. I took a little bit of a break at the end of 2025, just to get ready for 2026. Had a bunch of different things to do. But I am back, y'all. I'm back for 2026 and in time for Black History Month. Shouts to Black History Month, y'all. Um, I don't want to be that person, but I'm going to be real quick. Every year I try to think of something to do about Black History Month, but I realize that I do that all year round. I support black indies, black businesses, talk about them, put them on my platforms all the time. So I'm definitely gonna be that person where Black History Month is every month for me. So, but really, shouts to the month, shouts to everybody that's gonna be putting out content. Please pay attention to the content and just different stuff in Black history and what people are doing. But shouts to Black History Month. Um, we're back in this episode. This is a black ass episode, y'all. This is one black ass episode. I got nothing but black ass topics to talk about, and just different stuff that's going on in Blurredsville, if you want to call it that, right now. So, um, let's just get started with it because I want to get to these topics that I want to talk about because I think these are very important topics too to actually talk about. So we're just going to start this off with 1,000 days. All right, so 1,000 days is this campaign that was started by this content creator on TikTok. His name is JP Enumbrum, and his content is actually really good. You should go check him out. No matter what I say within this segment of talking about this, I don't want to say there's nothing bad on his content or whatever. He's actually puts out great content. He actually sheds light on black characters, black writers, black creators, and not just DC and Marvel, but just comics as in general. He's great at. I think his content is great for new comic book fans to get into comics. So I think definitely check out his content. He does a good job, and he's very has a wide range of content when it comes to comic books. All right, he's not just talking about DC. He's not just talking about Marvel. He's talking about just comics in general, and it helps spread the love of comics. And I'll get into some of that topic later on this episode. But check out JP Numbrum. But he started this campaign. It's called 1,000 Days, and basically what he was saying that DC Comics, for over 1,000 days, and this is about a month ago, bro. So it's well over 1,000 days. He said 1,000 days DC has not had a black lead in an ongoing. All right, and I'm gonna clarify what he's talking about because a lot of people that were commenting on this were really mixed up on what he was trying to say. He was saying in the main universe, the ongoing, it's been over 1,000 days since DC has had a black lead the ongoing, right? He wasn't talking about the absolute universe. He wasn't talking about, a mini series or limited series because everybody wants to say, what about absolute Green Lantern? That is in another universe, and that even though Joe is the main Green Lantern in that, I feel like that's still much with Hal Jordan and basically Green Lanterns as a whole. So it's kind of not really her led book, and that's just my opinion. But people were bringing up that. People were bringing up Black Lightning and Mr. Terrific. Some of the series we got, those were limited or mini series. Those were not ongoings. All right. When the last Black lead that had ongoing, I believe, was Jace Fox Batman. All right. So that was over 1,000 days ago, and that got cut at 18. All right. That got canceled at 18. So there was just he put this campaign that a whole bunch of different creators got on that shine light on basically that DC's been underusing their black characters, which we all been knew that. We talk about that basically every year. So my thoughts on that, and just to be completely honest, I think it's dumb. I think it's dumb. I think it's counterproductive. I got a lot of thoughts on it that I'm gonna get into, but the reason why I think it's dumb, even though I think it's great to shine light on this, that we need these black characters, that these black characters should have a spotlight. They should get more content. Like, I think what they're doing necessarily isn't, it really isn't dumb. But when I think about the bigger context of everything, it kind of is, because we're asking DC to give us these black stories when they're not even a black owned company. You feel me? They don't even make their bread and butter is giving us Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. The Trinity, Flash, and all them, there and all that. That is their bread and butter. That's what they made their money off of. But it just feels like we are on our hands and knees begging for representation and begging for these stories from people that don't even represent that representation. You feel me? Like we're begging these other people to give us our stories. We're begging these other people to hire more black artists to give us our stories and stuff like that. And then we're putting our money in their hands. I think that's what's dumb to me because I'm a big supporter of indie comics. I'm a big supporter of indie writers, and not just because I am an indie creator, but I was even before I became an indie creator, I was supporting them. So I think if we want these stories, there's an indie creator making these stories from you, and that's why I also like JP Enumbrum because he also shine lights on indie creators like Rodney Barnes and Stephanie Williams that are giving you stories outside of DC and Marvel that are black stories that are really good and in booming right now that you should be supporting. And then so I think it's crazy to ask these companies who don't owe us anything. They don't owe us nothing. They don't owe us these black stories. We're asking them for these stories and trying to put money in their hands when we can do that for indie creators. We can go to indie creators that are making these stories with these black characters and put money actually in their hands and actually help them out, which could lead to more stories being told by more black people. And then that's what we should be putting our money towards. So it kind of, and that's why I said nothing against JP Number because he actually, like I said, he shows that. But I saw a lot of creators that don't never show nothing about no indie or any other black creators, but just are begging DC to give them what other creators are already giving them. The people that represent the representation that they want, giving them the stories that they want. And so when it comes down to like the 1,000 days, yes, it sucks, but I think at the same time we should take this moment, take this the fact that we are seeing that they are not giving us representation and then look to the people that are and then put our money behind them, back them. Like I'm not saying don't support DC and Marvel because I'd be the first nigga in there, just getting Static. Anytime it comes out, Mr. Terrific, Black Lightning, I'm the first one in the comic book store. Well, not the first one because I got a job. I gotta go after work sometimes, but I'll be in there getting the book, supporting. I'll be telling y'all about them. I'll be in there like Static. Static comes out, I think this week. Static and Batman, the new issue comes out this week. So like I'm not saying don't support them, but us begging and pleading for their sympathy when they don't say when begging and pleading DC to give us what people are already giving us is crazy to me. Like we're begging and pleading, waiting for them to actually do something with their heroes, which I'll talk about more later, when we could be supporting black indies. But I still and that's why I just think that the 1,000 days was counterproductive in a way. Like it just seemed when I really started to think about it, it just seemed really dumb to be asking these people for this content when we could just be getting the content from people that represent the representation that we're looking for. I keep saying that because that just makes sense. Like you want black stories. Well, go to the black people that are telling these stories. You get what I'm saying? So I think it was cool that a lot of creators came together and actually shed a little bit of light on it. Um, um, and it really got a lot of traction, a lot of traction. I thought that was dope. But I think it was just kind of counterproductive. I think we could just did more about shedding light on indies. But we're gonna continue this conversation about superheroes and how DC and Marvel treated black superheroes. 'Cause like I said, this is Black History Month, so it's ready to be a black ass podcast for y'all. Real quick, let me get some water real quick, cause I'm gonna have a lot to say. But if you don't know, now you know that Static is making his return into the main DC universe. All right, they just did this whole thing. It was in the DCKO crossover that's going on right now, and it was about the kids were fighting, or it's called something like that. Where basically it's like all like the teenage heroes and everything were all together. I didn't even read it. I just bought it because it was Static, and I literally only read his part. Just to be honest with you, but Static is returned to the main universe, and this February, I'll talk about why I laughed at that later. But this February, they're coming out with the Dakota incident, where they are telling you where Earth M and like Icon and Rocket, Hardware, Blood Syndicate, and Static, where all of them have been, because now they're getting integrated into the main DC universe. They won't, I believe they won't no longer be on Earth M. They'll just be over here with everybody, where they can interact with everybody, where you can have Static interact with the Titans and everything. Which they said that Static is going to be a main character within the Titans book, which if he is, I'm buying the book. Um, but they're saying, but now we're saying that Static is back, Dakota's back, within the universe, which can mean a lot of things. It can mean more crossovers. It could mean that we get more of series from Static and Icon and Hardware and Rocket and Blood Syndicate. It could mean a lot of things, but it also could just mean that they not ready to do nothing with Static. That's really what I want to talk about it. And then in this segment, I want to talk about um, what they're calling it right now on Instagram, about how in February, DC Comics has a way of putting out these black heroes in February, but doing nothing with them year around. All right, they're actually calling, I just found out, the February exclusive. They're calling them February exclusive. Like, this is a big thing on Twitter, where it's like, yeah, DC's rolling out their February exclusive, where they gonna put these black characters out there, get everybody like, hey, buy this book. Everybody buys it, whatever, whatever. And then the rest of the year, they just ignore their black characters. They just put them in the back of the bus and don't do nothing with them. You feel me? And so that's really what I want to talk about, because it's a lot to talk about with this subject. All right. Of course, we get hyped and stuff. The Static is back, blah, blah, blah. He's super popular. All of us love Static. He's probably one of the GOAT black heroes. They made a movie, it probably do numbers, and we're all excited. And I would be too. But they do this all the time. This the February exclusive. And it's actually really funny where Nicholas Draper Ivy, who actually was the who drew Static and actually wrote for Static in the Earth M, the season 1 and season 2 of Static. All right, he has a lot to do with Static, and he's actually drawing, and I think he's actually helping write the Static book, the Static and Batman Beyond book right now, right? And he was clapping back on people on Twitter. Basically, people were saying like that this is a February exclusive, and he was coming back like, no, it's not a February exclusive at all. But the thing is, he kind of wasn't helping out his argument, because he was like, yeah, Static has a book out now, and then Static we showed him in January, but it's like, yeah, they're rolling him out for February, right? And I love Nicholas Draper Ivory, I follow him, but yeah, he just wasn't helping his argument of Static being a February exclusive. But with that, I'm seeing Joe Illich. I'm seeing him, Nicholas Draper Ivory, doing a lot of posting. DC also just did a trailer for this, which DC is doing actually really good with promotion of comics on social media. But it seems like they're making it seem like there's going to be a lot more of Static going on after this, which is what they make it seem like every year. Every, like, the last 3 years, we've been saying it, that okay, they're gonna roll out their black heroes for February, what they're gonna do the rest of the year, and then they give a little shine here and there, like we see the Black Lightning, the Mr. Terrific, but all in all, they just kind of get a little bit of shine and just get pushed right back to the bus. Like, they get, you know, put you out there, then right back to the bus. So, but with the way they're promoting, it seems like there's going to be more. But I can't get my hopes up, because there has not been no evidence of them actually doing more with these heroes. Like, it seems like it's really just a February exclusive. We're going to roll out this Static, show them to you, and then nothing. And I know Milestone has had their, battles with DC and their whole conflict with contracts. Because if you don't know, Milestone, the heroes like Static, Icon, Hardware, and Blood Syndicate, they're not owned by DC. They're owned by Milestone. DC, I think, believes does their distributing or publishing or something like that. So like, there's always this battle going on between them, which is why we don't get more of Static, which is why we don't get like Static in like animated movies, which they said they were working on. But yeah, they were having a whole battle, which now it seems like now DC has done something to where they can use these characters in the main universe. So hopefully that means we get a lot more. But like I said, there's no evidence of that. So looks like it's going to be another February exclusive. Hopefully not, but we'll see what happens. I've been looking at the solicitations for this year. I think we're up to April. And solicitations, if you don't know, are when the company basically show you what's coming up with like covers and storylines of what's coming up or what's going to be out in this month. And I think we're up to April of 2026, and there's no sign of static in sight. But on Twitter, Nicholas Draper Ivy and Joe Illich, who are big on with the static writing and storyline, it seems like there may be something more. We'll see. We'll see, y'all. Let me know what y'all think in the comments, please. And also let me know what y'all think about the 1,000 Days Static's return, which should be hyped for if we actually get more of him. Which just let me know what y'all think about that. But real quick, I need to say this. If Static is in the main universe for DC, there's no reason he shouldn't get the Miles Morales treatment that Marvel's doing with Miles Morales right now. Miles has an ongoing that has made it to 42 issues, which I think that's already stopped. But I think they're going to reboot that. He's always has a comic out, always has an ongoing. They need to treat Static the way they're using Miles. Miles is a big part of the multiverse now. Every time it's something multiverse, Miles is at the centerfold of that. Um, so I think they really should give Static the Miles treatment. Easily. Easy. He's a relatable hero. He's already has popularity behind him, and you can make him even more popular for the new age and show him as like a new black hero. For people, for new comic book readers, definitely if you make his new joints reader friendly, which is something I want to talk about probably now on this podcast because we talk about a lot of black shit right now. But like Static should be getting that Miles treatment easily. Easily. There's no reason why he should not. All right. But let's continue this since we're talking about DC and their black characters. Let's talk about their black writers because right now I just want to give a shout out to Stephanie Williams, who is writing Wonder Woman. She's writing issue 30, 29 and 31. It's a black woman who also writes Roots of Madness. She's writing Temporal right now. She's done a whole bunch of stuff that is really dope. She's written for Nubia before, so definitely check her out. She's writing Wonder Woman. That's a black writer with DC, black female writer. So we don't want to leave that out. Black female writing Wonder Woman, 2 issues, 29 and 30. So check those out. I just want to give her a shout out for that. And also she has a lot of books coming out doing her thing right now. So definitely check her out. And especially for Black History Month, because you know some of y'all be only trying to check out people there in Black History Month. So if you one of those, check her while you breeze through with the black stuff for the month. But we're gonna continue. We're gonna continue this topic of we're gonna talk about Wonder Man, black characters. Wonder Man, Wonder Man. If you didn't know, Wonder Man is a series that just dropped on Disney Plus and is in within the MCU. And it's about a character Wonder Man who is an actor with powers and yeah, so that's basically it. So I'm not like a Wonder Man connoisseur. I don't really know much about Wonder Man. I didn't even read any comics. Normally when they come out with stuff where it's a hero that I don't know of, I try to go into it blind because when I normally go into it knowing about a hero, it taints things for me. And like as a nerd, there's things that you get mad at, even if it's a good movie, you get mad at because they didn't do the certain nerd thing that you want. We all know what that's like. So yeah, I try to go in them blind and just go in there just off the vibes and see what it's like, right? And so I did that with Wonder Man, and this series was phenomenal. This series was great. If you go into it thinking about comic booky superhero show, no, this is not that. You barely see any superhero type of stuff. You barely see his powers and all that. But when you do, it's worth it. And then the series is really well done. It's a really good show, man. It's like if it wasn't like comic book stuff, it would be a show I would still watch because it has a good storyline, compelling. The characters are good. You do a deep dive into the characters, um, and it was a very good series. It was done very well. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a comic book show at all, and I love that. Um, Also, the Mandarin character, I hated him. I hated him. I hated him from Iron Man 3. I hated him getting used in all the other movies and stuff. I was like, why do we keep using this character? And this was the first time I'm like, bro, he actually had a real good use. Like, he made sense. They used his past and like to why he's where he is now and to help the series out. So man, you gotta watch it. You gotta watch Wonder Man. It's really good. But what I want to talk about is how the marketing for it. And then I posted this on thread about how I thought the marketing was bad. And a lot of people came at me and was like, no, the marketing was good. But I'm also seeing a lot of people saying the marketing was bad. Like it's like the day of the series dropping, they had the Daredevil trailer come out, and then so it's like, and the way they've been post promoting Doomsday, it's like they haven't promote the way they promote Doomsday is way bigger than they've been promoting Wonder Man. It seems like they kind of just let the series out to dry, kind of like what they did with Ironheart, and it's like. And it seems like a trend of them doing that with the black heroes and like what they did with Captain America, that movie and stuff like that. So it started a big conversation about what is Marvel doing. And if me personally, I think it's wild. I don't get it. I think we can easy for us to say it's a black character, but I don't get why they would make this show turn the character from white to black, and then even though there is a character that is black, I think it's the Ultimate Universe. One of the alternate universes, there is a Black Wonder Man, but I don't get why they would go with the Black Wonder Man, make this series, make an incredible series off it, and just let it die. Like this is a good series. Like for all that, you could have just not did it with a black character. I actually think the series would have sucked if you didn't, because you gotta watch it. I don't want to spoil anything, but yeah, there's something I want to talk about. I don't really have too much of an opinion. Still trying to form my ideas on it, but something I just wanted to talk about. Like, how do y'all feel about Marvel promoting their black lead led series and movies? How do y'all feel about that? Do y'all think they dropping the ball? I think they dropping the ball, but there was a lot of people in my comments who was telling me that I'm tripping, and I thought I was in the majority on this. You feel me? But I think there's something to be talked about and something to be looked at because this was a great series, and I think this could go 2, 3 seasons. I think it should have a definitive end, like maybe 2, 3 seasons, and then actually end. But the way this show is going, like it was fire. I love it. I would love to see where it is with season 2. Um, and my man's that played Wonder Man, I can never get his name right, but my man's has not missed. He put him in a comic book joint. That joint gonna be good, except for Aquaman 2. But that is not his fault. That is not his fault at all. But I don't want to spend too much time talking about that. The series is still fresh, and I think I want to watch it again and actually do a deep dive on it. But check out Wonder Man; it's a good series. And do you feel like Marvel is burying their black-led shows? How do you feel about that? And we just gonna keep this black ass topic going, right? We're gonna keep this black ass topic going. So I want to go to another creator. Um, a lot of people probably know this creator. His name is King and Queen Line. All right, he's on TikTok. Um, if you're not familiar with his content, you should go watch his content. But he is can be a rage baiter at times, but he also has gives a lot of good information on comics and stuff like that. And one thing he rage bait with that I was really cool with this one. This was good. It was basically talking about anime and their representation of black characters. All right. Told y'all this is a black ass episode. If you're not about the black shit, you might as well just turn this joint off right now. So he was basically like, hey, somebody had asked him, why don't you talk about anime as much as you talk about Marvel comics and stuff like that? He was like, well, the reason I don't is because anime is horrible with black representation. He's like, name me an anime with name me like 3 or 4 animes with a black lead in it, and then so that put people in uproar. He also posed the question like, why do you really just support anime when you never really see representation? And to clarify what he said too, because people love to take what people say out of context. To clarify what he was saying, because he clarified it, he was also saying that he still watches anime. He still loves anime. He grew up on anime. He was part of the culture that made anime like really cool in this era. You feel me? And then so he was basically saying like I support it, but I talk about Marvel in that because I see more reputation in Marvel. I see myself in Marvel. They have always have a black ongoing. They got Storm, they got Black Panther, they got Miles. They do a lot with their black characters and showing the reputation. He was like, that's why I bang with them. That's why I'm always putting them on my platform. That's why I'm always talking about them Jones. And then so that started uproar. That started a whole uproar, of course, because people was mad. It was like, well, they are Japanese. They don't gotta show us reputation, blah, 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 and all that, which I agree with. They don't owe us nothing. It's based like DC. They don't owe us to give us this representation. But we don't owe it to them to always put our money towards them, to talk about them on our platform, to push their content and push their medium if they're not showing the reputation that we want. Like, we're not obligated to do that, and they're not obligated to give it to us. You feel me? You get what I'm saying? And that's what he was saying. And I think that was really a crazy uproar that people were going into. But like, he wasn't saying don't support anime. He was just saying like the reason why he don't talk about it much because he don't see his representation. He said also why he likes Marvel over DC because Marvel kills DC with the representation with their black characters. And as a DC fan, that nigga's right. He's right. He's telling the truth. All right, you feel me? So I definitely think, and this is I really want to talk about because it's how I feel about DC. It's like I love DC Comics. I grew up on DC Comics. You feel me? Batman's always been one of my favorites. You know, you feel me? But they have some of my best favorite writers over at DC. But at the same time, I'm not seeing the representation that I want. I'm not seeing the stories that I want. And then I'm not seeing them actually give an effort to do that. And then so why should I continue to, support that in a big way, in a major way? You feel me? So like I can still support it, like still, buy the stuff I want. But why even talk about that? Why even platform it if it's not giving me the representation I want? If they're not platforming me, why should I platform them? You get what I'm saying? That's the thing what King Lion was saying about that. And I also think that people just don't like King Lion, and then some of the things he said is gonna go at, which is it's funny. It's funny when some of that goes in the algorithm. Sometimes it's not, but whatever. But I actually agree with King Lion in on this instance because he was basically just saying, "Hey, I just don't talk about them because I don't see us." You feel me? So I not, and he also said they weren't obligated to do it, but and he was saying like we put a lot of money. We black people are a big part of why anime is popular over here. Why manga and all that is pop over here. Like so, we are a huge part of that. So them not showing reputation, them not having that, and that's also why sometimes I get so hung up with reading some mangas because I'm really be on some representation and seeing us in stories, and I'll be wanting to get in the manga and want to get in the stories, but it's like I don't see no like black stories for us. So that's also, but that's a very good conversation, something that he started up and that took off. It took off. Like I like these creators posing these actual conversations that actually can be talked about. Sometimes the responses are dumb. Sometimes the responses aren't actually talking about what the main post is talking about, but it does get a conversation started. It does get a conversation started. So shout out to uh King and Queen Line, and shout out to JP and Umbrum for starting these conversations about black characters, about representation, and about heroes, because this is also conversations that I be trying to start too. You feel me? And so like I love these conversations, love being able to jump into them. But just to end that out, I gotta say I agree with King Lion on this one. I gotta agree with King Lion. Like if I'm not seeing the representation I want, why should I put my money towards it? Why should I put my platform towards it? You know what I'm saying? Just to close that one out. But this leads me into my next topic, which talks about comics versus manga. So this is going out of the black stuff. All right, this is just going in. I'm just going into main to nerd stuff. We leaving the blurred stuff and going just to nerd stuff. All right, but comics versus manga, big conversation because Jim Lee reopened this conversation again. Basically saying, and also Jim Lee, if you don't know, Jim Lee is the big up in DC, one of my favorite artists. But he's basically like big time in DC. I think like he's I don't know what his actual job is, but basically, like he's one of the heads at DC with like creative decisions and stuff like that, right? So Jim Lee basically said manga is just better. Manga's better, blah blah blah, than American comics, and then so Without saying too many words, that's basically what he said. So start this uproar. And I think this is dumb. Also, something I just think is dumb. We should start a segment of things I think is dumb because I think this is dumb. Number one, I want to pose this out there because there was this creator that said this. I wish I knew his name. He said this. He said the reason why people think mangas are so much better than American comics is because we live here. We live here in America. He said that mangas, for them to come over here, they have to be good. For them to get translated into English and made and printed and stuff, they actually have to be good. Like we're not getting no slop. Like we're getting the best of the best because they're not gonna translate slop and then bring it over here because they still got to make money. So he's saying the best stories come over here. And then here in America, you're just reading. You probably read a bunch of bad comics all the time. Which over there, they're probably reading a bunch of bad mangas, but over here, we're getting the cream of the crop. You feel me? So he said that's the reason why we think that mangas are so much better when actually they're not. And that wasn't even where I was going with this, but that was a great point that I wanted to put out there. But my point is, y'all be thinking comics is just superhero comics. Y'all don't be looking at this right. Y'all be thinking, I can't get in the comics, blase blah, because it's 50 years and all this blase. No, there's not. No, there's not. Shut up. No, there's not. You're thinking of Batman that has 50, 60 years of stuff that and reboots that you got to go through. That's DC and Marvel. Comics don't stop at the superhero shit, bro. Like once the capes get put away, there's still so much stories, bro. You not only watching movies with superheroes, is you watching horror movies, you watching action movies. Comics is literally the same thing. All the things you get from manga, you can get from a comic book. You got different genres in manga, you can get a different genre of a comic book. When you go to a comic book, and people need to stop thinking comics is for kids. I'm sorry for this rant, but I'm gonna have to do it. Comics is not just for kids. They make adult comics, bro. Like, what are y'all talking about? Like, they have horror comics. Like, they have a comic where it's called Something's Killing Children. Like, bro, like, there's so much stuff in comics that you can check out. Like, and I'll talk about this to my last subject also goes into this more, but there's so many different stuff outside of DC and Marvel. There's so much different stuff outside of the cape shit. Like, not everything is vigilantes. Not everything is somebody with a signal to notify a hero. Not everything is a city that has a protector that flies around to shoot lasers. Not everything is that. Not everything is some billionaire with arrows. Like that's not all comics. When people see comics, that's what they think about. Like I'm reading a great comic by Stephanie Phillips, I believe that's her name. I might be getting that wrong, but she writes for DC and Marvel. She has her own comic called Grimm about a reaper who like can't remember how she died when all the reapers know how they died, and it's like this whole storyline about her and how she's different, and it's a great story. It has nothing to do with capes. This is Grim Reapers, bro. Like Philadelphia, written by Rodney Barnes, is about vampires taking over Philadelphia. Like there's so much stuff outside of comics, and people just stop at DC and Marvel and think I need these need to go back 50 years to know what's going on now. No, you could just pick up a comic that you want to read. Doesn't gotta be no superhero shit. It don't gotta be DC and Marvel. If you like superhero stuff, there's other people. There's Valiant Comics. There's so many people making superheroes comics outside DC and Marvel that you can check out. There was a whole Black Hammer universe that Jeff Lemire wrote that was great, and that has superheroes that showed them in kind of a different light. Like there's so many good comics that I think just people just don't go into because they stop at DC and Marvel. And I think that's what we need to stop telling people is we need to stop always talking about DC and Marvel when talking about comics when there's so many good comics to talk about. Like and also I think people knew that a lot of the shows that they watch and like came from comics. Like if like Lock and Key. A lot of people love Lock and Key. When I would tell people that it's a comic book, they didn't know that at all. And I'm like, bro, the show is great, but the comic book is way better and darker. Like they dumbed down a lot to make it kind of a little bit kid friendly. But I'm trying to tell you, like the comic was fire. And then Invincible, comic book, Walking Dead, comic book. And then a lot of things that were comic books are getting turned into shows now. So like when there's this whole comic versus manga, like I get it, but at the same time, it's kind of even to me. Like, I think there's great stories over there, and I think there's great stories over here. I think that once you look past DC and Marvel, once you look past the capes, once you look past all that, there's great stories under there. Horror, action, romance. There's so much stuff, especially for black. For like I said earlier, for if you're looking for black stories outside of DC and Marvel, is where you're going to get those stories, where you're going to get good stories, where you're going to get your stories that have to do with black trauma. You're going to get your stories that have no black trauma. You're going to get your stories about black people rising up. You're going to get stories about black villains putting people down. Like, you're going to get that. Like, you feel me? So I just think it's a dumb conversation that just doesn't get looked deeply into, which is why we have this dumb conversation. And I think that this is kind of getting turned over, which this is going to lead into my final topic for today, which is that I believe that Image is the top dog. I believe that Image is the Kendrick. I believe that DC and Marvel is Drake and J. Cole. Like, whichever one you want to go with, whoever you want to pick for those. But I think that there's no more big three, there's just big me, and I think that's Image Comics. And I think it may have been that for a while. Like I said, I think we didn't look deeper. And so while we were stuck on that dumb conversation of comics versus manga, I think we don't look deeper in comics to see that some of the best stories we are getting are published by Image Comics, which is these are more creator owned stories. These is more not just DC and Marvel. This is not just connected universes. This is not just superhero stuff. That a lot of the comics that we've been reading, like I think Walking Dead was printed by Image. Philadelphia, which I'm always bigging that up, is printed by Image. A lot of the comics that were some of the best in the last few years were published by Image Comics. And I think that Image is the big dog over DC and Marvel. It's like they're telling better stories. Like DC and Marvel as a whole, some of the stories just don't be hitting. Some of the stories aren't that creative. Some of the stories just can't really go nowhere because they can't really do nothing with their characters, and they're kind of afraid to do stuff with their characters. Nobody can really die and stay dead. Like people just come back, come and go. So they're not telling the best stories, and I think we've known this for a while. I think that we just haven't had this conversation or looked deeper into this conversation. But I think Image easily, kind of really easily beats out DC and Marvel. Like when we're looking at sales every week, every month, 'cause I've been really deep into that. We're not seeing Image on there. Like I'm seeing a couple. I really wish I would have looked at that before I did this, but whatever. But there was a couple on Images, like two or three that make it into the top 50. Right? It's all the rest of DC and Marvel, which I get. But the better stories are coming from Image. Like every year, some of the best stories that I'm reading is like this is not DC and Marvel. This is like some like if I were to get my top five stories of a year, I guarantee you DC Marvel may not even crack that top five. Not even joking with you. But I'm just saying, like, I think it's a real conversation that needs to be started about Image over DC and Marvel. Image over DC and Marvel. Easily. Easily. I want to have this conversation. I want to get this started, see what people say. But for me, DC and Marvel. That Kendrick is Image and straight over J. Cole and Drake. Like you feel me? He's punishing them. I don't know which one. I feel like Marvel is J. Cole and DC is Drake because DC has less black representation. All right, all right, all right. But that's just what I want to say. I think Image is easily beating DC and Marvel. And this year, I'm gonna keep track. I'm gonna keep track definitely of the comics that come out, and I'm gonna be like, okay, Image is definitely punishing, or maybe DC and Marvel. We'll see by the end of the year. Come back to me after that. But that's all the topics I got for now. I got a lot more topics I want to talk about, but we got to get back into the Yo and Nerd. I think this is episode 24. I think we ended off at 23. Stepped in. This is the Kobe. This is the Kobe era. You feel me? We came out to 23 from the Jordan era. We stepping into the Kobe era. You feel me? So that's all I got for this episode of today. For today, just going forward, let y'all know that Yo and Our podcast, I'll be doing a lot of different things this year, collabing with different creators, bringing them on, talking about comic books. I was doing my conversations with creators and stuff like that. That will kind of be morphed into the Yo and Nerd stuff. I have a lot of guests that I want to bring on and talk to, a lot of blurs and other nerds that's going to be hype. Kind of just give this show a little bit more flavor, so it's not just me all the time. You feel me? So we're going to do a little couple different changes. You feel me? Try some things out, but just bear with me and see what we do. I'm always looking for feedback, so tell me what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, fight with me in the comments. If I'm gonna say some things you're not gonna like, so that's this year. I'm really gonna be giving my actual thoughts about things. Not saying I wasn't, but I was kind of keeping it light. But I'm gonna give my thoughts on things. So if you want to argue with me in the comments, let's argue in the comments. You feel me? If you agree with me, that's dope too. But I want to thank y'all for watching Yo a Nerd. If this is your first episode watching, please go back and watch the other 23 episodes. You feel me? Binge watch me. Also, I'm working to get all of these on, like the audio on wherever you watch your podcast. I'm working on that, working on a couple things, a website and different things for people to follow me. The way I can go directly to people, you feel me? So, working on a lot of things. A lot of things coming up for Yo and Nerd 2026. But thank y'all for watching. Thank y'all for being here. If you liked, comment, subscribed already, thank you. Shouts to all the creators that I shouted out in this. Shouts to the indie creators. Check them out. So, but I'm not gonna spend all night giving shout outs, you feel me? So thank y'all for watching Yo and Nerd. Peace.